Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Fan Interference with Wichita Wingnuts manager Pete Rose Jr. Fan Interference is a weekly program that gives you, the fans, the opportunity to ask the Wichita manager questions about the Wingnuts, baseball or sports in general, or just seek Pete's wisdom about life events that are going on. In this week's episode, Pete shares his thoughts on the World Baseball Classic. We learn that Pete will not be using his frequent bus miles, and Pete provides his insights to a local guy looking to gain some insight on what he should do about a relationship. So let's get right to Fan Interference. Let's welcome back manager Pete Rose Jr. Pete, do you have any team updates you'd like to give us first of all?
Nothing on our end still. We're just kind of waiting it out. But I think stuff will start to happen here as we get into March and obviously closer to April, and then obviously once May comes, we should be all set. But nothing to report at this moment in time, and hopefully next week I'll have a little bit more to share with everybody.
I'm kind of curious to ask about are there guys though that are contacting you guys here at the Wingnuts and saying, hey, I'd like to get a look by you, or does that work?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. You get emails and text messages and stuff like that, and I'll tell you a big thing with our guys is the guys from last year. We get a lot of word of mouth from the players that played there last year as far as guys wanting to come and everything else. So I think the thing we got to do first is figure out, who we're going to have back, what's going to happen, and then, you trying to start filling holes, what, your needs and your wants, so to speak. But, there's always emails, always text messages and, word of mouth kind of stuff. So, but yeah, there have been a lot of that. And you know what, we just haven't done much, if anything at all. And I think last year we were kind of the same. I know I took the job, I think it was in either February or March. I don't remember. I think it might have been February. And, we really didn't start doing stuff until maybe the middle of March anyway. So I guess we're, from a Wingnut standpoint, I think we're kind of right on schedule.
Absolutely. Well, let us head to our fan questions this week. First of all, we have Blake from Wichita. He says, I know in Major League Baseball they talk about there is kind of an unwritten rule that you never trade within your division. Isn't it weird to trade with teams in the same league as you?
Yeah, it is, but I mean, if you're trading a guy, I mean, I don't really think it really makes a difference on, where you're going to trade him. I think if you're going to trade him within your division and you think he's going to come back and beat you, then, why are you trading him in the first place? I think if you have your guys back and you really believe in your guys and you really care for them, I don't really think it matters where you trade them, as long as they're going to go out and have an opportunity to play, kind of like Tyler Earps with us last year. I mean, we didn't want to trade him by any means. He's a solid player, great kid, works his tail off, but you know what? He deserved to play, have a chance to play every day, and that's why we sent him over to Bobby at Lincoln, and he did a tremendous job for them. So, I don't really think it's so much in the division part. I think a lot of people say, well, they'll come back to, haunt you or everything else. Well, if that's the case, if you're thinking that way, you probably don't want to get rid of them anyway. At least that's what my thought is.
Next up is Sean from Wichita. He says 3 teams in the South and in Texas this season. Do you guys get frequent bus miles?
And we're back. That's a shocker. Another question about the schedule. You know what? I'll tell you what. At least the 2 teams are only maybe 5 hours away, which isn't bad. And then, like I said 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,001. Once you get to Laredo, it may be one of the nicest places in the league, just because the people, the people at the hotel, the restaurants around the hotel. There's a lot of stuff to do. You can walk to the ballpark. But no, we don't get bus miles. I wish we get frequent flyer miles, which means, we're on a jet flying somewhere. So, I'll have to talk to Josh maybe here in a week or two and see if I can maybe swing something, but I mean, one good thing is I think that, this summer they're putting a statue here in Cincinnati for my dad. And I think it's, the weekend of the 18th or 17th of June, which happens to fall on the weekend. We play at home against Fargo, and then we take a lovely 14-hour bus ride to Laredo. So there may be a chance that I get to fly that one from Cincinnati to Laredo. So we're gonna keep our fingers crossed on that one.
I think people need to understand too is that even if there were frequent bus miles, you wouldn't be using them.
No, not at all. And you know what? I tell you what, and you hear everybody hears me bellyache about the schedule and everything else, and it's not about. Listen, when you get on a bus is a bus. I don't care if you have the entertainer bus that we have, and that's 1,000% nicer than just a regular standard coach. But you know what? A bus is a bus, and when you're on there for a while. I just bellyache that my players got to get up and try to play the next day if it's not that same night, and I think it's unfair. And I just think it could be so much done so much better if you just put these people that are in charge of it, put them on a bus for 14 hours, have them go play 3 or 4 games, and get right back on the bus and come back for 14 hours and try to play a game. So our bus is great. I mean, Josh and Gary. Steve and Nate, they take care of us as far as, with our really, really long travel. But, like we talked about earlier, we go to Winnipeg for 3 days, we come home for a week, we go right back to St. Paul. Okay, why don't you just have it do us once, stop at St. Paul on the way home and do it that way. We go to Laredo. I think this year actually we get a chance to, either stop in one of the Texas teams and then go to Laredo, or go to Laredo, come back to one of the Texas teams and go home, just so you can break it up. You know what I mean? I think you sit on there for 12, 14 hours, and I'll tell you what, man, it's you got to tip your hat to the players, and I had to do it, but you know what? There's some bad trips, but yeah, we wouldn't use the bus miles. I mean, it's all charter, so no, we don't get bus miles.
Jack from Derby would like to know from you. He says the Wingnuts have 10 of their first 13 games at home. Do you see winning 8 or 9 of those games as a key to setting a tone for the season?
You know what? I just know that I want to say we open up on the 18th. Am I right on that one?
I believe so, yes.
We're going to be on time, and we're going to play the game the way it's supposed to be played on the 18th. Other than that, I really don't know what setting the tone is or whatever. If you tell me I got to go, 9 or 6-13 or 5-13, whatever we did last year, and had the same end result, I'm good with that. But you always want to win at home, obviously, just because you're home in front of your own, your home fans. But we're going to be on time on the 18th, and we're going to play hard. And whatever happens after the 18th, we'll go from there. But it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. You always want to get off to a good start. We didn't last year. And like I said, I think sometimes teams got to find their way, and it takes a little bit more time. So we'll see what happens. But on the 18th, we'll be there on time, and we'll play the game the way we're supposed to, and we'll see what happens after that.
I think the one thing that people kind of forget about is the fact that you guys did get off to a kind of tough start and had the best record in the league.
Robert, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I've been on really, really, really good teams that. Sometimes you just don't do it from the start. And you know what? You go back to, we started off slow. I think Winnipeg started off slow, and, we were left at the end, just us and them. They got a little bit hotter than we did at the end. And you know what? Look what happened. They won the championship. So you tip your hat to them. But, it doesn't really matter how you start. It's kind of how you finish. And that's what people don't realize. If it was a 5-game season, you know what? That first game, that's a must-win game for us. But you know what? We play 100 of them, so we're just gonna do the things that we do and worry about what we can take care of. And like you've heard me say 1,000 times, we're gonna be on time, and we're gonna play the game the way it's supposed to be played. And wherever the chips fall, that's where they fall.
Bob from Wichita asks of you. He says, "What are some things you learned from last season that you would do different as the team's manager this season?"
I would fly our team everywhere if I could do everything, if I was allowed to do that. But no, nothing really. I mean, obviously I guess there's the little things here and there, but I'm not going to change the way the way we do things. I'm not going to change the way that I do things, the way I go to the ballpark, and the way I go at each night in and night out, and that's letting your guys go and do what they do. We're still going to work hard. We're still going to we're going to be on time. We're going to play the game the right way. But, maybe there's a little things here and there, but I mean, I was pretty, I'm more than satisfied with what we did last year, and it was an unbelievable year. So, that whole term, if it's not broke, don't try to fix it. So, we're just going to keep doing the same things, and, hopefully, we'll have some success this year and get back and try to win a championship. But you know what? It's all up to my guys, and they got to go out and do what they do. And, we're going to give them every opportunity to do that. And you know what? We're going to make mistakes. We're going to make errors. We're going to strike out. We're going to give up runs. We're going to do all that other stuff. And, that's part of the game. And my guys know that. And as long as we're doing that aggressively, I think, we're going to be okay.
Chris from Wichita would like to know from you. He says, is it me or does the World Baseball Classic not seem that exciting?
I'm different. I love it. I think it's great. I would have given anything to be able to play for USA, play for your country and go play, not in winter ball, but, with other countries. So I think it would be a little bit different if, let's say, maybe the first round was at Lawrence Dumont. I think it would be really exciting for people. But, I can understand how some people, they don't find it because they don't really, maybe they just follow the Dodgers or follow the Yankees or something like that. But I'm really looking forward to it. I think they do a great job with it. And, hopefully USA can get something moving and try to win it this year and, not let the Dominicans take it home or the Japanese take it home like they did before. So, it's going to be a good tournament, and if you look at the rosters, it's they're all dream teams, and it's funny because you got we had the dream team in basketball. Obviously, hockey has the dream team in Canada, but you look at Venezuela, you look at Puerto Rico, you look at I know Puerto Rico is part of the U.S., but if you look at Puerto Rico and you look at Dominican, you talk about some serious talent and dream teams. Man, I mean, I would have loved to have seen this back when I played or even back when my dad played. I think it would have been, an amazing event.
There are 3 or 4 guys, I think, from Lincoln that are playing on the Netherlands team, too.
Yeah, I did see that. And, I thought Mitch Glasser had a chance to go with Team Israel. I know he's going to camp with them. And, we talked about him a little bit last week, I think it was. But, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is you get guys that get chances, and if they go and do well, who knows what could happen. So, and you know what? There's nothing like playing playoff baseball right in March. I think it's great. It's great for the game. It's great for the fans because you're not waiting until October to watch the playoffs or watch the World Series. I mean, this is and then you watch the Oriental teams, the teams from the Orient, Koreas and Japans and Chinese Taipei and those type of teams. They play and they play like this is everything. And I know we have pitch counts and stuff like that with the Americans because the big league season hasn't started yet. But you watch this Japanese team. I mean, they're all in from pitch one, and you know what? It's win or go home. So it's just exciting to me, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Sam from Wichita has an interesting question for you. He says, what are your thoughts on a guy who leaves a really good team because he is chasing more money? While I get wanting to make more, it seems like a lot of the time that the numbers drop dramatically and their career is over in a few seasons. Isn't that extra money really worth it when it's so detrimental to your career?
Well, if his career's over, I don't really think he's going to worry about it because he just left somewhere to go get more money. So I think he's set, and I understand that part of it. The thing I don't understand is guys that have basically made their money in their career and they want to leave let's say a good team and go to an even worse team and not go to like a better team with a chance to win a ring. I think that's what your goal is. Obviously, your goal is when you play baseball or football or anything professionally, you want to provide for your family, obviously. But the money today, you can't blame guys for going to different clubs to make more money because, hey, they're setting their self up, their kids up, and their grandkids up, and anybody that would disagree with that, if they were put in that situation, they would do exactly the same thing as these guys are doing today. But I just think that if I would have made money to where I don't have to never ever work again in my life, I think I would rather go to a team that has a chance to win, whether it be a everyday player or part-time player. If I haven't won a championship or if I don't have a ring yet, I would want to do that as opposed to go somewhere else. But I think guys jumping ship and, going to other teams for more money, I don't really think they're established as much, and they probably haven't made, as much as, a lot of other guys have.
Tiny asks of you, he says, Bryce Harper plays in D.C. Isn't it messed up that he would wear a Cowboys hat when he plays baseball where the Redskins play? It's not like he's from Dallas.
You know what, though? He's a Redskins fan. I mean, you got to give him credit. I mean, I'm all for it. If I manage the Pittsburgh Pirates, every Sunday I'm not going to wear a Pittsburgh Steeler hat. I mean, I'm going to wear a Bengal hat. I mean, you gotta give him credit, man. I mean, you get a diehard fan, and being from Vegas, and I know he took a lot of crap from it, and I'm sure I take crap for being a Bengals fan, but it's great. I love it, and don't get me wrong, he doesn't play for the Redskins. He plays for the Nationals. Now, if it's him wearing a Mets hat or a Phillies hat, maybe that's a little bit different story. But it's a Cowboy hat, and I know he's a big Cowboy fan, so I like it. I think it's good for football, and it shows that he's a passionate fan about his team. I like it.
I don't even think that I'd see Pete Rose Jr. in a Pittsburgh Steelers hat. So
no chance.
Brad from Andover asks, Major League Baseball is thinking of changing it so the visiting team takes batting practice first to try to encourage the visitors to come early. Are there some rules that are just made up so someone feels like they did something?
Absolutely. Let's face it. Batting practice is for the fans anyway. If you follow us on a daily basis, if you were our beat writer, you would see we don't hit a lot on the field. And I think you could hit too much. If guys want it, obviously you go out and do it. But, I don't know why you want to, encourage, a visiting team to get there earlier. But I'm sure the guy that had come out and said that doesn't realize that, when you play in the big leagues, you're at the ballpark by 1 o'clock at the latest, just because these stadiums and locker rooms today, I mean, you have everything. You have made-to-order chefs. You have, wireless computers, PlayStations. You can get massages. You can, do hot, cold. There's just so much that they have to offer as far as resources that, I don't really think it's a matter of, visiting teams getting there early. I think that they want to do it from the home fan standpoint to where, they don't, if you go to a big league batting practice and you get there early, you're not going to see the home team hit very long because they're usually off the field at 5:15. Well, the gates open at 5, so they get to see 15 minutes of it. So I think that's what they're trying to do to get the visitors to hit before the home team does. That way the home team, the home fans can see the home team more. But then when you start doing that, now you give the visiting team a little bit more of an advantage because they get to rest longer, before the game. So it's kind of, is it about batting practice or is it about winning? And I think if people understand that, if it's about winning, you're going to keep it like it is, because I think that's the reason why, one of the reasons I should say it's set up that way, and if you're going to hit extra, if you're going to do extra fundamentals, if you're going to take extra ground balls, being the home team, you never do that stuff on the road. But if you're going to do it at home, then you know what, you can go on the field at 1 o'clock and, you've got the field till 5:15. So I think they should leave that one alone and, maybe, think about something else, which I'm sure they will.
They'll come up with another rule pretty soon, I'm sure.
Exactly.
Quinn asks of you, he says, Ryan Syndergaard put on 17 pounds so he could throw harder this season. Isn't that more likely to mess up his mechanics putting on that kind of weight?
I guess we'll see. He throws 100. I don't know how hard he wants to throw, but it's a wait and see game. Or wait and see. You just don't know what's going to happen. He may. I'm sure if he doesn't have the year that he had last year, or if he breaks down, I'm sure everybody has an excuse, and I'm sure what the excuse is going to be just from kind of seeing what he looks like. But hey, he worked hard this off season, put on muscle, and maybe it may help him. Now the same question being said, if he goes out and wins the Cy Young and just dominates like everybody knows that he can, well, if he comes back in next year looking like he did last year, they're going to say, well, what happened? Why didn't you keep the weight on? So it's kind of a catch-22, but I don't think it'll mess with his mechanics and any that kind of stuff. But it's a wait and see deal. We'll have to wait and see, and maybe revisit that question maybe in October.
Well, let's have a couple of football questions for you. First is Billy from Cleveland. He says, Pete, we know you love the Bengals, but give us Browns fans something to be hopeful about.
Hugh Jackson. I would have him as our head coach, and I love Marvin Lewis, but you know what? Hugh Jackson is a great head coach. He develops guys. It wouldn't surprise me, and if they get A.J. McCarron, because I know if I was Hugh, I would go after A.J. McCarron because I think he's going to be an unbelievable quarterback in the National Football League, and he proved that league, and he proved to us that last year when he came in for Andy. And you know what? Hugh's got a lot of history with a lot of guys that are still here in Cincinnati, but I mean, you got to be happy with Hugh Jackson. All the young talent. They get a quarterback in there. Let's say, and believe me, I don't want AJ to go anywhere, but you think from what all I've read, I think he's on the block or whatever, which he deserves a chance to play. But you couldn't ask for a better coach, and I think they're going to give him an opportunity, to build some culture there and leave him there for a couple years. And you know what? When they do that, I think they're going to be pretty good because you go back to last season. Yeah, they lost a lot of games, but I'll tell you what, that's a tough game for anybody. I mean, it's not like they got blown out every week, by every team. So Hugh Jackson's definitely one of them, and I'd hate to say it, but if AJ McCarron goes there, I'm going to like the Browns just because I'm a huge AJ McCarron fan. I think he's just a winner. I mean, he's a great quarterback, and the way he does stuff and the way he carries himself, what's not to like about him. But I think Hugh's doing a great job, and I think he's going to put that Cleveland Brown team on the map here in the next couple of years.
Didn't they have to start like 6 different starting quarterbacks because of injuries too, or something?
Exactly, and that's the thing is you really have never had a quarterback. I mean, you sit here and you think about it. What if Tony Romo goes there? What if AJ McCarron goes there? What if you get a bona fide quarterback that goes in there and you're not worrying about, well, this guy's coming off injury, or this guy was a backup for this or that. If you get a guy that comes in there and just put Carson Palmer in Cleveland, put Matt Ryan in Cleveland. Put Jeff Goff in Cleveland. I mean, it's amazing on if you just get a solid quarterback there, it'd be a whole different ballgame because their defense is really good. Their skill players are good. Pryor had an unbelievable year this year as a receiver. So, and I think Hugh's going to do that just because he's an offensive guy. And, when he was here as our coordinator, man, our offense was just off the chart. I mean, Zampese did okay last year, but he's not Hugh Jackson, man. Hugh Jackson was a whiz, and he calls the plays up there. So I think that's all they're missing, and I think they're going to get one.
John from Cincinnati says to you, he says Ben Roethlisberger is hinting that he may not play this season. Good riddance, I say.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's yeah, absolutely. He can quit yesterday. I mean, that's fine with me. I mean. But on the other hand, you got to give the guy credit. Not that I'm not going to give any Steeler credit, but he's a winner. You know what I mean? I think it would be a blow to the Steelers, which I really don't care. It would be below the Steeler Nation, which I really don't care. But he's a heck of a quarterback, man. I mean, he just wins. But if he retires and then comes back, I won't be mad one bit. Let's just leave it at that.
Tom asks of you, he says, I know choking up on the bat gives you greater control of your bat and makes it easier to make contact. Why don't those players who are struggling at the plate look to do this more if it helps get their average to rise again?
Well, a couple things. I don't really think they know that, but I'll tell you the thing that's lost about our game today is pepper. Nobody knows how to play pepper anymore. And when I grew up, I had to play pepper with my dad every day. And when you're playing pepper, you tend to choke up and just use your barrel of your bat. And people that never play pepper won't understand, what they want me to choke up on the bat. It's just going to make the bat shorter. So now I got no chance. They don't understand what the question that was just asked is. That's the reason why you choke up. So you just work on getting the barrel to it. And, I think if the game would get back to young players playing pepper, and, my son's 12U team, we do play pepper all the time. It just teaches back control. It teaches hand-eye coordination. And you always put the barrel on the ball. So I think if a lot of people would understand how to play pepper, they would understand when somebody would say, hey, why don't you choke up there? But, when you tell a kid these days, hey, choke up on the bat, they're looking at you like you got, 7 heads and you're from Mars, because it's like, now you're making my bat shorter. Now it's too short. Now I'm going to swing and miss at everything. So, it goes along a lot of things, but I'm all for it. I mean, I think, if you choke up, you're definitely going to help yourself when you're not swinging the bat the way, that you want to be. Maybe put on a hit and run when some guy's not doing as well as he should. But, it's just a lost art, man. And I think if it gets back to it, you'll see a lot more guys choking up. I mean, look at Bond. Bond choked up all the time. And it was because, he knew where the barrel was and he got the barrel for the ball.
Tammy from St. Louis says, yesterday was President's Day, so are there any presidents you really admire?
I mean, you got to admire all of them. I mean, they're our guy. They're the number one in charge. And you know what? I'm proud to be an American. I think I enjoyed listening. I thought Barack Obama did a good job. He's a great speaker. He seems like a great guy. But he was our guy, so I was all for him. President Trump is our guy now, and I'm all for him. I think you let the guy, give him a chance. But I think you got to be behind the guy who's in charge, just because we're all one. I mean, we're all Americans. It doesn't matter what color we are, or where we're from, or what sports team we like, or whatever. When it comes down to it, we like the Stars and Stripes. I mean, that's our team, and that's our team as a society. And I like the Bush guys, both President Bushes. They were baseball players, so and when George W. threw that strike after 9/11 in Yankee Stadium, I mean, you talk about some serious ice in your veins. I mean, when he did that, and that was a strike because. You bounce it at New York Stadium, you're done. And after all that had happened, he threw an absolute missile, right down the middle. I mean, he's a guy. Hey, he was our leader. You look up to him. But I think it's who's ever in charge, you admire him and you support him. And you know what? Let's get this country back to where we're supposed to be.
Very wisely said. Jeff from Wichita says, "Isn't everything we read or hear about these days fake news in some way or another?"
I don't know. With all the technology and everything, you can pretty much fake and then do anything you want as far as on computers and stuff like that. But, I think that some people just want to report what they want to report, and it's usually bad. It's not like back in the day when you didn't have, social news and regular news or even TVs at that. You'd read it in a newspaper. And the thing is they put their name on it, and if it wasn't right, you could go and talk to the guy that it wasn't right. But it's just gotten kind of ridiculous, especially with the presidential race that we just had. I mean, it's just you didn't want to turn the news on, and it's funny. I've always told myself if I would ever run for president, I wouldn't sit there and bash my opponent just because if he beats me fair and square, or if he beats me regardless. I got to support him. He's our president. So, it was just a smeary campaign for both people, and the news just kind of took it and run. And, you got all this and that. You don't know what to believe, whatever. So, and everybody wants to read bad news anyway. Nobody wants to read anything good. So, I think there's a lot of fake news out there, which, I think it kind of stinks.
Our last question this week is a return one from Lucas. He says, "Pete, I took your advice about the whole Valentine's Day thing and decided to end my relationship with that woman. Now she tells me she was wrong to take me for granted and would like to still date. My friends say to stay away from her, but I would love to hear your thoughts."
Man, I'll tell you what, man. I'm leaning with your friends on this one. I just think that what's the change of heart? Why are you so good now? I mean, you were second fiddle 2 weeks ago. Why are you gonna waste your time on this one now? I think there's plenty of other fish in the sea that'll appreciate you wanting to do stuff for him and not have another guy that wanted to take him out and choose that guy first. But I'm gonna side with his friends on this one, to where I think I think you cut your losses and you just kind of move on, because you never know. She may do it again, or something might happen. Not saying that she will, but I guess that'll always be in the back of your mind.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us this week, Pete.
We want to thank Manager Pete Rose Jr. for joining us on Fan Interference this week. If you have your own questions you'd like to ask the Wichita Wingnuts manager, please send them to us at askpete@minorleaguesportsupport.com. That's askpete@minorleaguesportsupport.com. Please have your questions to us by Sunday evening so we can give Pete a little time to review them before we record the show. I'm Rob Pannier, the managing editor of the Minor League Sports Report, and we'll see you next time on Fan Interference.